So one of the major news stories which we've been following on this channel alongside the coronavirus news is of course the global collapse when it comes to the prices of oil. And yesterday, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, WTI crude settling at negative $37.63 per barrel, down $55.90 from the same day, down 305%, completely insane. Now this is record breaking in at least two respects, right? First of all, biggest single drop that we've ever seen. We've never seen a 305% drop in oil prices. That's completely insane. We've also never seen it trading below zero, trading in negative territory. Completely insane. Now, of course, the background behind this, which we've been sort of following occasionally on this channel, is of course that basically oil containers, places that can hold oil, are full, and not just in the United States, but they are also full around the world. Now, the background behind that is, of course, as we've been following, that Russia and Saudi Arabia, they had a bit of a lover's spat. They fell out of love there, where they were in part of an OPEC Plus agreement, and basically as part of that, Saudi Arabia and Russia would be the first ones to cut back production in this group in OPEC Plus when they needed to cut back in production. But as the coronavirus thing started to go out in China and they realized that they were going to need to cut back in production, Russia said, no, we don't want to do that. We're not interested in that. So Saudi Arabia got pissed and started pumping out a bunch more oil, leading to a situation where a bunch of other countries felt like they needed to pump out more oil if they didn't want to lose any market share. And so we ended up in a oil price war, where basically we were pumping out more oil in a time when we needed to be cutting back production of oil. And so we ended up in a situation where a lot of countries and a lot of places were storing oil in, containers and ships anywhere which they could. And so we ended up in a situation where lots of places were full of oil already. And so that's how that situation came. Now, of course, we did hear news about a week and a half ago. I made a video about it. But basically, Donald Trump was trying to negotiate a deal and did, he took credit for it. Half did, half didn't, for an OPEC Plus an OPEC Plus deal, in which basically they were going to be cutting back production. But as I said on this channel, as many analysts were saying, it was too little, too late, and it seems like that view was really vindicated yesterday, as May contracts were beginning to expire, coming Tuesday, coming Monday, and people were like, "Oh my gosh, we need to get rid of this oil now." And so, as you saw there, oil trading at negative $37. Now, there are some people I've seen online who are genuinely just sort of perplexed, genuinely sort of confused about how is it possible that oil can trade in the negative? Well, let me just ask you, have you ever paid or considered paying someone to literally hold your stuff? I mean, there's companies out there that, basically are like warehouses, and you basically rent out a warehouse. I think there's one near my house, actually, and you basically pay them money, and then you get to like put your stuff in there. That's sort of what's going on. There's some instances where people are able to find, where various ETFs or whatnot are able to find places to store the oil, but it's becoming incredibly expensive. I was looking online, some of those, tankers, ships that, can hold oil have gone up like 300-400% as compared to last year. So completely insane. Some of those, some of the places which can hold oil is becoming increasingly expensive, and a lot of, sort of speculators are beginning to wonder whether or not it's worth it, especially when we don't know when a possible second spike could occur, right? Could there be, a second wave of coronavirus leading to more shutdowns, and then oil prices are still low into the future? And so a lot of speculators are kind of worried, not quite sure what to do. And so it's a difficult situation for a lot of these traders, for a lot of these people. They're trying to figure out, sort of what is going on. But you can see here, this is just sort of the graph here. But you can literally see here price of oil for the financial crisis and how it just completely tanked here. Let me make it a bit bigger for you, but you could just sort of see just how insane this drop off is. I mean, this is the financial crisis, but this is COVID-19 right here. I mean, my goodness, completely insane. And it is affecting the stock market overall. You can see right here, this is a sort of 5-day history when it came, or 5 trading days, I should say, when it comes to the stock market. And basically starting yesterday and today, both days had a pretty big drop off. Now, as of right now, as of recording, sort of 3:20ish p.m., you can see here some of those have kind of recovered, although it kind of recovered here and then sort of dropped again. But you can see similar kind of thing going on yesterday, where at opening of the stock market, things are completely tumbling, especially when you look at the trading for like companies like Exxon, etc. A lot of them are, not doing particularly well. And also, by the way, Corn futures are also falling nearly 20% as well, because of course a lot of restaurants are closed, a lot of different food futures, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of those are also closed, sort of dropping, and it's it's causing a lot of trouble for a lot of people. Now, the other thing that I do want to say here is, being sort of in the progressive space on this YouTube channel here, a lot of progressives are out here talking about how we should nationalize immediately these oil industries, these and immediately move to green energy, green technology. I think AOC was saying something like that. Look, I'm actually in agreement. I would love to see a serious investment in green energy and green technology. But the simple fact is, when it comes to this thing, is that if that doesn't happen, then we actually do need to if we aren't able to do a massive, if we cannot trust Congress to do a massive investment in green energy in order to, transform this stuff, a massive immediate boom into green energy and green technology, then when it comes to this, the best thing that we can do in the really, really short term is allocate money for oil companies to be able to fill the strategic petroleum reserve and have, basically, I think there's a little bit over 500. I think the Strategic Petroleum Reserve can take something like 500,000 barrels a day, and it's been getting filled for a while now. They've been sort of filling it up, but there was a $3 billion allocation in one of the last sort of stimulus packages, which the Democrats blocked, which would have, sort of mitigated at least a little bit of this possibly. But the Democrats blocked it because, of course, they didn't. Here's my take on this, guys. The Democrats are blocking the allocation to the Strategic Petroleum Reserve for the oil companies because they're upset at the oil companies. But guys, here's the thing though. They're also not willing to do the corresponding investment in green energy. If you're not willing to do the corresponding investment in green energy, then you need to be basically buying up the oil in order to keep the domestic markets afloat. Because what the situation that you don't want to be in is a situation where the United States is completely dependent for its oil production on other countries, right? You can't have it both ways. You can't be like, oh well, I'm not going to support the oil companies, but then also I'm not going to invest in green energy. You can't have it, but you can't eat your cake and have it too. So that's sort of my 2 cents on some of that. If Congress is willing to get down and do a serious investment in green energy and transform the economy, 1,000,000% on board. I'll be the first one to be ready for it. But if we're not going to do that, then we need to support the United States domestic energy producers, because we don't want to be dependent on other countries for energy production. That's my take on it. That's how I feel about it. So anyway, you can let me know what you think about it down in the comment section below. But for now, if you liked the video, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button and consider subscribing. Thanks.